morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hello and welcome to Atlanta, Georgia. My name is Tom Battinger, joined here by Anatoly A, and we'll leave it at that. We've got an exciting afternoon of European action for you. And of course, if you're not just joining us, if you've been hanging out here on the channel today, you've noticed that the Challenger Cup is going on as well. Excuse me, the Challenger Circuit. We've made some changes to the way that the Pro League works, and basically you still have the same 8 teams that you know and love in the Pro League, but the way that feeds into it, instead of an open bracket, we now have the Challenger Circuit, which is right underneath it, featuring a handful of teams that are the top of the crop. The Poppies right now are doing something over there in Europe, being tied for numero uno. Looking pretty damn clean. You can continue watching that over on Tier Monster, of course, if that's what you want to do. But we're going to start our afternoon off right with the professional league, the Smite Pro League right now. This is what the snapshot looks like as far as Europe is concerned. A couple of teams fighting for the top and the bottom. Team Dignitas, that's Variety Squad. They're looking pretty clean, excuse me, but Sanguine having some struggles.
NRG currently 4th place. Right behind them is going to be Lion Guard at 5th. Both of these teams are trying to battle their way into that number 3 spot, which is very important here, trying to get into that Masters land.
And we'll see how these teams work it out. NRG and Lion Guard, like you said, very close on the docket as far as the standings are concerned. Also, as far as the schedule is concerned, NRG and Lion Guard, a very important game, as you said, Totally. Whoever wins will separate themselves from the squad. Obey takes on Dignitas, then we'll end the day with Valence versus Elevate, and of course, Sanguine versus Cyclone. Watching Sanguine take on Cyclone is always very interesting, to evenly match squads, as opposed to some of our other matches, which might be a little bit more lopsided. NRG taking on Lion Guard. These guys are interesting. Lion Guard, of course, is the old ShadowNightmare crew. How do you feel that these guys have worked throughout the season with the addition of the support Frezzyy?
They've been playing very aggressively. Whenever Frezzyy does play the Hercules, they're very successful. He goes Sunder early to start off the game, and then he's making the plays, he's making the rotations, he's trying to find the setup for ShadowNightmare. But whenever he's playing the Sylvanus, he kind of struggles a little bit. He's played those immobile Guardians, and then everybody just starts to pick him off.
You've also mentioned, we also talked a little bit about NRG before and how they kind of struggled to get things going here in the 5th week. How you feeling about these guys?
Well, they actually did come from the Challenger Circuit, like you mentioned before. So the teams that come from the Challenger Circuit could make a performance here. 2-time world defending champions. They had a slow start to the season. They struggled a little bit, losing to Obey, splitting against Valence Squadron, and then 2 more additional splits throughout the split. And this is why they're kind of struggling at 4th place. But this is what NRG is known to do. They start off the split a little bit slowly, but then they pick things off really quickly towards the end.
NRG is such a fun team to break down. These guys really come through, and sometimes they struggle to start off with, sometimes they pick things up in the end, but at the end of the day, covering them is a whole lot of fun, and part of the reason why I enjoy this gig so much. You too can enjoy this gig as well if you want to be a caster yourself. Right now, hi-rez is running a fun contest called, well, The Caster. If you go to thecaster.tv, you can flex your stuff and see if you can sit up here on the desk and break things down, stand out there on the caster set, and talk about the games as well. Either way, the caster is what you're looking at. Make a 30-second video on why you would be a great choice to not only be on the show The Caster, but also, of course, be a caster yourselves, or just spend 30 seconds talking smack about me and why I ain't good enough. Either way, we're going to watch your video and probably make fun of you in the process, but maybe you'll just be good enough to wind up here on the desk with me and Toli. No longer on the desk with me and Toli is Taco and Hindu. Instead, they're out there in no man's land. It's Lion Guard versus NRG. Let's take it to them for the action.
Always no man's land, but it's time to get straight into picks and bans here, Taco. NRG, the #1 team in the world. World champions 2 years in a row. They've not had a great start to the season, but they're against Lion Guard, and even if you don't think NRG are having a good season right now, you'd still want to say most people would be voting for them to win here.
They're certainly not a team to be left unaccounted for. And at the same time, you also have to consider, though, that Lion Guard are probably just as hungry for a win. It's not a clean 2-0, at least a split here to keep things fairly even between themselves and NRG.
Yeah, 1 point separating these two. Obviously, the top 2 from the SPL Spring Split will go through to the Masters LAN. The others will fall down to the Gauntlet and have 1 more spot to potentially face off for. Picks and bans coming through, though. Zeus Circuit from NRG, Capri Cabrakan from Lion Guard, and immediately NRG going to draft that Terra.
And I really like NRG's opting for the Terra, considering that it's such a favorable pick at the moment. It's a support or a solo lane flex pick. It could fit either playstyle, I think, for iRaffer or Dimi. But I also really like the response from Lion to automatically draft straight away Susano, Sylvanus. That's a very strong early composition. And like we've seen before out of Lion, they love aggression. And that might as well just keep playing to their playstyle because they could potentially catch NRG off guard.
And I think that's why they went with Susano. FrostiaK, like Susano, has a pretty good time of things on him, but then adapting now, gone for the Batz. Batz, the most winningest god in the SPL spring split so far. I believe the start of this week it was 25 wins to his name with over a 75% win ratio.
Just a little bit bananas on that win-loss, to say the least. It's first one of the day, Hindu. It's going to be a long day. It's going to be a great day, especially seeing Hercules locked in for Lion and the Apollo to follow shortly after. So aggression is certainly the name of the game, and...
So I'm just a little bit dead inside, that's okay. It's fine. You bring up the Hercules, but Apollo and Ho-Yi will be the two hunters here. Are they the top two pick hunters now? I mean, Scardy's banned. Is Scardy worth the ban right now?
Scardy's certainly worth a ban right now, just because you have to consider that she does have so much early clear, and not only that, but you could potentially just look for so much cheesy kind of unexpected invades with her. It's because she has two abilities to start off from initially, and it can be pretty difficult to deal with from the laning phase point because it's so easy to secure a buff because you're not necessarily the one tanking the health of it because of Kaldar. So just a lot of unexpected, and like, she can be a little bit more of a surprise factor for teams that they aren't necessarily prepared for.
Well, two drafts have come through now. NRG's draft overall. I'm looking towards iRaffer, who's more than likely going to be on the Terra here, to have a very good performance, because when you look at what Lion have drafted, there's a hell of a lot of knockups on this team that Lion have, and the one thing that Terra can do is immune those thanks to having any of her stones available.
But Terra having knockup immunity doesn't eliminate the fact that knockup is still potentially one of the best CCs in the game, so if a Lion are able to catch NRG off guard, then they could be a really difficult situation for NRG to bounce back from if they keep getting caught out from the knockup immunity and the lockdown potential that Lion has for follow-up.
Now I'm looking at Sylvanus and Apollo in the duo lane at the moment as well. They're going to have very good push potential here, and I think that's why you can see NRG's duo lane themselves, Terra and Ho-Yi, starting in the jungle. iRaffer has got Wrath available. Sorry, Hog, I should say. Get it right at the start of Season 4. But they may be able to do two camps really quickly there, and I think that's what the plan is. Emilitoo's going to do the backs on his own with the Ricochet, which can three-shot them pretty much, and iRaffer's going to start things off at this red buff. iRaffer could
potentially solo the red buff since he has the Bumbas available and that he opted for in his support build this go round.
But look at this on the left-hand side. Immediately, Lion have already pushed up the wave and now looking to steal away the purple buff at the same time as this is going on. Now the red has been dropped, given over to emilitoo. They won't be there in time to stop Lion hitting level 2 after clearing a whole wave.
And this could spell a potential disaster early on.
A lot of trouble. Meditate early on, coming out to try and keep him alive, but it's not enough. Yammyn and adapting rotate round to support Dimi, giving Dimi a chance now to go on Ducky as well. Overhand smash, Jingu, bang, the dot damage from Bluestone's good. Adapting looking for in-hands, but no speed buff to catch up to Ducky. He's going to have to just be patient for now.
I was a little bit concerned for adapting there that he might have been pulled by the Hercules knockup and then pushed underneath the tower, but he's able to keep his distance, and what a way to fall with trying to just pull away that blue buff. A little bit greedy by Lion to try and overextend that far in.
I thought he saw a meditate coming out. I want to apologize for that. I thought FrostiaK meditate, but he actually got the buff and it healed him.
Yeah.
The heal was so big, it looked like a meditation had come through, and I was like, hang on a second, Ducky's got meditate here at the start? Which would have been a very interesting one anyway. Over to the duo lane. Frezzyy and FleuryQ had fantastic advantage in this lane, but it's being turned on now that iRaffer has hit level 3, has all his abilities available.
And being outpoked now, Frezzyy, since he's so low, it could be, If emilitoo had connected with that Ricochet, that would have certainly put Frezzyy within 1-2 in-hand death range.
Well, Raph is 1-2 in hands away from danger here as well as he gets knocked up in the sky. The red buff is down, but surrounded by 4 members. Rapha in an awkward spot. Nice route from Frezzyy will keep him in place. The walls will slow them down for a minute, but ShadowNightmare's in hand on the Vulcan will be good enough to secure that and make sure it's a 1-for-1 in terms of kills so far.
emilitoo doesn't mind. He's looking for it. He wants it, but Fleury going to block out those last couple of auto attacks, but man, that is so much damage already coming through for the Ricochet.
Well, hold that thought. Emilitoo has low mana here. FrostiaK now rotating in, has speed buff to close the gap. Emilitoo's beads are available. Beads at the right time. Is on the right-hand side. Ducky will solo Dimi in over on the right-hand side there. Don't know exactly what happened, but both ultimates are already on cooldown.
I'd have to expect that both Dimi and Ducky were looking for just an exchange, because Adapting was hanging around on that solo lane side trying to clear out the elementals, but unfortunately Dimi just wasn't. He probably got caught off guard by
still level 4.
a Hercules push.
I think it was more the fact that he was still level 4. I said both ultimates were down because Dimi's wasn't even available for him there.
And
the
Ducky
boulder
just expended his.
Obviously, I guess the boulder came into play at hitting level 5 a little bit earlier than Dimi planned. That was more down to the blue buff invade on the right-hand side. Now, one thing we've not spoken about just yet, Taco, is even though we've seen Emilitoo playing very well and very aggressive in this lane so far, he did start Bluestone here. How do you feel about this?
Bluestone on Huyi isn't necessarily the most conventional pick, but he's probably opting for the Transcendence route, which theoretically that works out really well, considering that Huyi can be a bit of an ability-based hunter. It's just not as common as what we're accustomed to seeing, but it's not a awful way to go in the slightest.
Well, with how the game started so far, the gold lead is ever so slightly in favor of NRG at the moment. They did get the first blood, and that's the only real thing separating these two teams right now. LionGuard, however, Taco, put themselves in good stead in this game with how the beginning has started.
LionGuard, they came out as aggressively as what we've seen from them and have just come to expect from this team. They absolutely love trying to be the initial engaging factors, but it could potentially get the better end of them if they're not careful. We've already seen a couple of times where situations have slightly turned into their favor. For instance, when iRaffer was trying to invade that red buff on his own, able to secure it, of course, but trading out his life for a buff, not necessarily the outcome you would ideally want at this stage of the game. So as long as LionGuard don't overextend, they can certainly give NRG a run for their money.
Well, iRaffer's trying to get down these oracles on his own here, but with two people here pulled in from Frezzyy, one of them will go down thanks to the Wrath. The second one, different story, goes the way of LionGuard, splitting that camp equally. Right-hand side, fight over the elementals. FrostiaK's in a bit of trouble there. Tiger did hit from Dimi, but Ducky pulls him away. Still, Dimi wants to go in and find FrostiaK some more. The ult from Terra is going to give him the mobility to get in range, and Yammyn from downtown will find the judgment. Now Frezzyy here to collapse roots and knocks up, and the Vulcan bomb and the boulder to add. LionGuard answer back. Yammyn for FrostiaK, and at the moment it looks like LionGuard will also defend their buffs.
That's just one of those moments where you don't want to happen. As a Thoth, you secure the kill, it feels great, but then immediately getting knocked out by the Sylvanus ultimate into the Vulcan of all things is just painful.
Well, FleuryQ was trying to defend the red buff on the left-hand side there, but Emilitoo had already taken it and rotated all the way back to lane already. Now into a boxing match where FleuryQ does not have that ultimate available, neither does Emilitoo, so they'll just play it safe, farm up for now. Nobody's really standing out for me apart from Yammyn with that Doom Orb. The good news is they did just bring him down, Taco, so he's not fully stacked just yet on that Doom Orb.
Unfortunately for Yammyn, the last thing you want to do is take a spill when you're opting for a stacking item that halves upon every death. But you have to consider, he's been playing this Thoth pretty passively for the most part. He's really only been rotating around his team. So if Adapting wanders into the jungle on the solo lane side, you'll usually see Yammyn following after. But Yammyn's a mid player who's always been known for great positioning and follow-up potential on his team. And that's part of the reason why NRG finds so much success in their team. It's just because he's able to utilize every single guy that he plays so well. It's really hard and difficult for a lot of teams to try and counter.
Well, now we get to that midpoint of about 7 minutes where you see the camps being contested a little bit more because there's 3 members on each team always around them, jungler, support, and mid laner in tow. And the elementals on the right-hand side have just spawned. Ducky now on the rotation too. Dimi still trapped in lane for now. iRaffer on the forefront. Gonna root Frezzyy in place, and he's gonna eat some free poke. Forced to wisps early. Dimi coming in, looking for the Tiger. Cancels that idea. But the main focus is on the elementals, if anything, as Dimi is just keeping him busy. But Frosty's gonna pull Dimi into an awful position. The boulder comes out, and that's forcing NRG to fight. Yammyn will answer back with the final judgment as iRaffer on zone duty, looking for more if he can find it. It doesn't look like NRG want to really do anymore, as they've not got much else to fight over.
Trading out the 1-for-1, but I would much rather trade out my support and secure the solo laner kill, considering that Dimi's has substantially more farm. So that's a pretty big pickup for LionGuard. He just overstepped a little bit, but NRG's primary focus was on those elementals. They were able to secure it. which is fortunate for them. And I think if that Vulcan ult had landed, that could have potentially gone a lot worse for NRG.
Oh, Yammyn's in an awkward spot. Beads late there, so he doesn't manage to jump through his wall. The beads didn't prevent the knock-up that time. Already dead. Now Frezzy's here. Raffer's already used a double dash. Frezzy's hot pole is not going to hit home. And instead, they will limp back with just that one kill in the mid lane. A couple of times now this has happened. emilitoo now going to secure the oracles. He's just going to deny Lion with a free chance at that Gold Fury.
A little bit of... It's a little bit awkward at the same time, though, because while he's able to secure the oracles and pick up that vision for NRG, Lion are also aware of the fact that a lot of ultimates are expended at the moment on the side of NRG. They don't have 4 ultimates available for them right now. Of course, Adapting's and Yammyn's ultimates are about to be off cooldown, but Lion with how aggressive they love to play, especially since they've been hanging around in like the 4-man grouping on whichever side of the map they seem to be rotating towards. It wouldn't surprise me if they started looking for an early Gold Fury engage pretty soon here within the next few minutes.
Well, Adapts is going to get the blue buff on the right-hand side, strip that one away from Ducky, allowing Dimi to stay even in terms of level for the time being. Full minion wave up against Ducky here. The boulder was very good to buy him a second, but the Fear No Evil was perfectly timed. Overhand smash will secure the kill for Adapting as he finds his first one of the day.
And that's just a classic solo laner gank scenario where Adapting just finding his way through on the backside and Ducky getting baited pretty hard there by Dimi trying to take up that 1v1.
So looking a little bit more at emilitoo's build and FleuryQ's on the 2 hunters. We always like to look at hunter builds because they're always different every single time. Iqbal been rushed into after full warrior tabby, hasn't invested into the Transcendence yet. Do we expect him to maybe go that later on now? It's getting a little bit too late for a Trans, right?
Not necessarily too late for Trans. I mean, it's just a massive power spike in general whenever you finish off that item. But Emil, this is a classic scenario of where you just have to adapt to your laning opposition.
Right.
He probably had the mindset to try and build into Transcendence early on, which is why he had the Bluestone and T1 rush of it.
Yeah.
But when you face off against an Apollo, especially since Fleury opted to rush the lifesteal with the Devourer's Gauntlets, that's a great pickup for an Apollo since he has his passive with the attack speed steroid. And the in-hand trade would definitely go more in FleuryQ's favor after he finished off this Devos. Emil recognizes this, so he immediately opts to build into the Iqfold to provide himself with a higher boxing potential, because even with Devourers and Warrior Tabi online, emilitoo would still get the better trade of these 1v1s.
Oh, here we go. emilitoo looking to trade out, knowing he's got the Wrath of Terra ultimate on him as well. It's going to give him extra mobility, but he doesn't like how the fight went there. FleuryQ seemed to see what was going on and just played it pretty safe. And that was Devourer's Gauntlets. You know, that's what I was going to say too. We've seen Devourer's Gauntlets, which we don't see too often, but Lion Guard now at the Gold Fury, down to half health. Yammyn over the wall, dealing some damage. Gold Fury look to be reset, but emilitoo's going to hold the aggro there, eat one ultimate, and be forced into an awkward spot. Has to leap away from the Vulcan one. Gold Fury reset again as Raffer goes in. Raffer now out of mana. Fear No Evil from Adapting is huge, though. emilitoo's in hands will pick up one. Yammyn dashes in, gets a good stun off, and setting Adapting up for a second kill. The boulder takes off Yammyn's head. FleuryQ credited for the kill. Ducky can't do much more than that. As NRG trying to get away to the right time, too. emilitoo leaps away from the dashing in FleuryQ with the ultimate. So beautiful over the wall, not going to find the target he's after. But FrostiaK still manages to pick up emilitoo on his exit. Lion Guard win that fight. For now, they're looking at the Gold Fury, though.
They could potentially secure this as well. Ducky's full health. FleuryQ has Devourer's Gauntlets. Looks like they want to try and commit here, but this is very risky with Dimi hanging around the corner.
Frosty healed off those oracles. Gold Fury goes down, and it goes the way of Lion Guard as well. They even things up. It's still an 800 gold difference between the two teams, roughly. Sorry, 700, I should say, between the two teams. But it's 2,500 experience that's still in favor of NRG.
That was a very risky Gold Fury as well, especially considering that for a moment, I almost couldn't tell whether or not Lion Guard were actually going to be able to secure it, but they trusted themselves enough, they trusted their Hunter as well to have the damage to go ahead and burst that down. And while Lion Guard, like we've discussed, are an aggressive team, taking up those risky 50-50 trades, that could definitely get the better of them. Yeah, it would. If you do that play at a later stage in the game where the gold is a lot more impactful and you end up on the wrong end of that, I mean, giving a team like NRG even a 4K gold lead can be absolutely devastating.
Well, I didn't actually get to see whether the hog was available for iRaffer there to be able to try and secure that one, but it wasn't found anyway. Nice double shot off the wall from emilitoo, taking a lot of tower damage there. Leaps back into the wave, which isn't good because the archers will come into play. Lucky enough, though, nobody's on the rotation just... Yeah, I say that, but here comes ShadowNightmare through the jungle. The ward will spot him out. The ultimate was in a pretty good place, but they're turning on ShadowNightmare. He was the one that was baited into a trap, and Yammyn credited for the kill. Nobody on the side of LionGuard there to help because they are at the Paul Demon right now.
But Dimi's there to zone safely, and Frezzyy going for the knockup potential, getting a
Stolen.
huge chunk.
Stolen the way of energy, and now FrostiaK's got to get away from danger too. Right-hand side, Frezzy's being chased down by Dimi on his last legs right now. Has to dive the tower here. Dimi looking for this kill. Doesn't necessarily have to pick it up, but the knockup's good into a Jingle Bang. One more hit's all he needs, and Dimi will take another kill. His first kill of the game, the way of energy, after the Portal Demon is stolen away from LionGuard.
And that's exactly what we were discussing with this Gold Fury, is you don't want to try and take up the 50-50 trades with NRG. If they are there to contest, it's a lot safer to just look for the pick before engaging onto the objective and trying to commit so hard to it. I mean, sure, you outnumber, but is it really worth losing Portal Demon and then the fight not going your way?
Well, not going in their way right now for LionGuard. That is what just happened as the driving strike from Ducky missed, but a nice little play from FrostiaK will keep Dimi in an awkward spot. Still no ultimate available to get away, but a stun over the wall from Yammyn at max range will deny LionGuard finding that kill on Dimi, who will limp back to the safety of his own half of the map now. 14 minutes in, 15 kills so far, and NRG with a decent gold lead.
That stun by Yammyn was absolutely beautiful as well, completely over the wall, and it looks like ShadowNightmare is going to fall down to adapting. Perfectly timed Batz ultimate, really just catching him off guard in the mid lane.
I will say adapted and Yammyn this game, they seem to be in the right place at the right time every single time so far. Yes, Yammyn died a couple of times in mid. He is Thoth. He's going to get focused. But these two have been in the right place when they needed to be, when Dimi needs help, when they need support, and at the same time, gank potential.
I mean, you can just take a look at their score lines. Adapting 3-0 and 5, and Yammyn 4-3 and 3. Both of these members have almost been a part of every single kill on the side of NRG.
Interesting to see that Adapting went for the Jotuns, not going for the hi-rez, which we've seen a little bit more often on the Batz just lately.
He had an early gold spike with all the kills and farm that he was able to secure early on, so opting for the Jones right away as opposed to the conventional Heartseeker or hi-rez, that's a pretty standard option to go for, because...
And that's if you're ahead, you want to do that.
If you're ahead, you might as well, because you're going to get a lot more benefit out of the Jones than what you would out of a hi-rez or even the potentially the Heartseeker, considering that Heartseeker did just see a recent nerf.
2v1 on the left-hand side from NRG. Frezzyy taking a lot of damage here. emilitoo still investing a lot into this. Ulting to make sure ShadowNightmare is away and zoning Frezzyy from getting back to the tower. There's the ult from iRaffer, pop now in place. The Vulcan ult is better, but the shell managed to dissuade most of the damage. Yammyn now on the rotation, but FrostiaK is too. FrostiaK gets here first of all, and emilitoo is going to fall down. Next on the list is iRaffer, thanks to the ult from Frosty as well. To the sky goes FleuryQ, looking for the rotation. That was Yammyn, and Yammyn isn't going to be able to find ShadowNightmare he was after. Instead he gets turned on, but it's 2v1. FleuryQ still wants to kill though. The Aegis used by Yammyn after the beat, and the Aegis used out of FleuryQ. The enhance from Adapting just wailing on his back over and over, but it does allow FrostiaK to get a delayed triple kill in the whole engagement.
The kiting between those two was pretty insane. Adapting just completely eating every single one of those auto attacks as long as possible, just buying as much time as he could for Yammyn to get away.
Crazy engagement between these two. This is still an even game though, Taco, when you look at it. I'm just looking towards the late stages a little bit more now. And when you look at the late stage of these two teams, is there a favorite just in God selection?
I would certainly say the late game stage favors NRG primarily because of the Batz ultimate. Once you start having that ultimate be spammed in your face off cooldown, it becomes really difficult to fight around, and picks become even easier within the chaos of those late game team fights, especially once you start factoring in rituals coming in, and Batz is a ideal candidate for the late game stage. Just that ultimate has so much kill potential. And
we'll keep see how that goes on, because he's now got Heartseeker online on that Batz adapting. That's an extra power spike for him as well that'll continue him on to this midpoint of the game now. Gold Fury is available. LionGuard got the last one, but NRG in a better position right now to defend, or at least set up for an attack on that Gold Fury.
And iRaffer potentially be in a little bit of trouble, but it's actually FleuryQ who's going to be turned on by Emil and adapting.
And that was great play from iRaffer. He's zoning 3 people away while the gank happens. Now it's a 4v5. However, one of those members of the 4 is still in mid lane. Ducky, as Dimi's already made the rotation. NRG looking for a free tier 1 tower on the left-hand side, and they'll get it with no response from Lineguard.
In Lineguard, they could potentially see their T2 falling here right now. I mean, NRG are grouped up as 5. They're either looking for a bait in the jungle to look for the kill potential around the Gold Fury, but Lineguard are very well aware of this, especially with their Hunter being down right now. It's incredibly difficult for them to try and contest any objective.
Well, still 9 more seconds on Apollo respawning. Gold Fury chipped to half health so far, and the ultimate propped by Yammyn for a second. Lineguard, though, not going to contest this one. Is that the right call here, Taco?
That's the smart play, because if they were to try and contest that Gold Fury, not only does iRaffer have a hog available for his own disposal, but they also have to consider that they are down a player. And even with Apollo having the ultimate online and coming into the team fight, it could potentially be too late by then. NRG have great burst potential between emilitoo and adapting. So if they were to lose another member or 2 in a spill over the Gold Fury, that could spell disaster, considering that NRG would certainly be a team to potentially look for Fire Giant or the Portal Demon, and then another engagement for set up for later on.
With the tier 1 towers all beaten down, as well as the Gold Fury in the left-hand side, focus will turn towards that Portal Demon and the Fire Giant too, and Dimi's already found the army of Lineguard over here, having to deal with multiple members at the moment. Doing a good job of absorbing abilities, not taking too much damage. That Bulwark, that Breastplate of Valor, good spot, but left-hand side is a different story for FleuryQ. He's being run down like a dog in the jungle by adapting and emilitoo. The sun's rained down, adapting credit for the kill. Frosty here to help him out, but will still get hit by that knock-up onto 2. Good teleport from Frosty and a juke back to safety. emilitoo looking for the enhance to bring FrostiaK down, but under a tier 2 tower, he's going to have safety for now. They won't be able to pick up FrostiaK, but he can't find a kill in response to the death of FleuryQ.
FrostiaK should be careful here and let that one go, but Dimi, on the other hand, not being so careful himself. The boulder is going to miss from Ducky, buying Dimi a little bit of time, and Yammyn, along with the rest of NRG, are just going to disengage here as Lineguard fall back themselves.
This feels more like NRG are using the Terra ultimate very well to initiate multiple fights at the same time, bait people into bad situations, and just forcing Lineguard to take 2v1s or 1v3s or 2v3s, you know, in favor of NRG, where Lineguard don't really want to, but they kind of are forced into it.
Lineguard were well aware that FleuryQ was being initiated on as soon as they saw that Terra ultimate get popped, especially considering that adapting and Emil had just forced Fleury to use his actives before they took the Gold Fury, and it's just... When a Hunter's actives are down at this stage in the game and there's a Batz online
like
already, and it's just a complete bullseye mark, and that's just who adapting is probably going to be looking for every single time, because Fleury is a large damage factor for the side of Lineguard right now.
Ducky on zone G around the Portal Demon. NRG going to reset it for now, safely to do so. Wait for the right opportunity. Adapting's ultimate is back up on the Batz once more. emilitoo's as well. The rest of the team, different story. Do you like the idea from FleuryQ, though, looking for the split push for the time being?
FleuryQ has his ultimate available, so it's not really a bad decision to commit to this T1 tower, try and secure
Bad
it.
news,
but
fear no evil. Overhand smash. Still no beads available for FleuryQ, but he will get back to safety thanks to the Mez. No in-hand available. If that would have hit, it could have been a different story, but there's a fight around the Portal Demon once more. FrostiaK trying to do work to Yammyn at the moment, and Yammyn versus FrostiaK is not a good one for FrostiaK. emilitoo collapses from the backside to support his teammate from the mid lane. ShadowNightmare on the run from Dimi as well. Aegis will avoid a lot of that damage, but it won't stop the chase from continuing as emilitoo over the wall and Yammyn combine. Boulder double taps Yammyn, but it's still not enough to bring him down. The rest of NRG chasing out Frezzyy. He's on his own as adapting. He's just swinging for high heavens with the support of emilitoo, who will get credit for the kill. And the final judgment will remove Ducky from the tier 2 tower in a couple more hits that they just don't find.
3 members being down on the side of Lineguard. It's really up to NRG, whatever they decide to take on the map. Emil's automatically in that solo lane alongside of adapting, taking away the T2 tower, and Portal Demon looks like it'll be the next focus for NRG.
And it will be. They get the speed buff and the tier 2 tower on the right-hand side on their exit. Blue buff available, and adapting will take that too. Lineguard not in a position to defend this Portal Demon, and that is a chance for NRG to actually start the Fire Giant immediately.
And the team fights are becoming much more lopsided in favor of NRG at this stage of the game. Between the Terra ultimate and the Batz ultimate, it's becoming incredibly difficult for Liongard to work around it.
Oh, Frosty looked for a steal, and instead he may meet his maker. Instead, Ducky, though, with a fantastic Earthbreaker just to cancel out that adapting chase for now. But I don't think that'll slow NRG down now. With them having the Fire Giant, only a couple of tier 2s remaining. We're going to see them go left-hand side more than likely.
Probably swing from mid to left. I mean, they still have a T2 remaining in that mid lane, and so if they were to just swing from mid to left as well, then they could try and secure the left-hand Phoenix, which is ideal, considering that it's the Phoenix furthest away from the Fire Giant, so should the game continue, you want the further objective, because if they have fire waves or fire creeps pouring into their base and they have to rotate, that puts a lot of strain onto FleuryQ to be the one to try and defend and then potentially ult over, or for Ducky. But if either of those members are missing and joining into the team fights later on, well, we saw what happened with FleuryQ underneath that T1 tower. Adapting came, pressured him out, made it impossible for him to utilize his ultimate in a way that would permit him to go from split pushing to engaging in a team fight. And that's exactly what you want to do when you're facing off against an Apollo. Don't allow him to have the health that he would want when initiating and jumping into the team fights.
Well, NRG have started to push in left side and the mid lane too. They just want to find out where the whole of Liongard are for now. Dimi's going to tank this one up with the sustain coming out from iRaffer there just to keep him topped up. The tower chipped to half health. Liongard will not be defending this first tier 2. Gold Fury has spawned as well, and NRG could turn their attentions there, or the tier 2 in left.
And it looks like tier 2 and left is the way to go for NRG. 5 members strong, completely grouped up, and Liongard, they're not looking for any split push potential right now. I think their primary concern is just trying to ensure that their base isn't going to get completely destroyed by NRG at the moment.
Those Phoenixes so important to them to fight under, and I think that's why we see them holding back so much. On top of that, keep an eye on Ducky. He has the Frenzied Ritual available to him as well. They are looking for one team fight here, Liongard, if NRG want to take it under the Phoenix. And it's going to be the one that could either get them back in the game or see the game get closed out.
The devastating part here for Liongard, though, is this game went from being within 4 to 6k gold to a nearly 20k gold swing.
It's 16,
in favor.
Taco.
It's 16, but
is not 20, Taco.
it rounds up.
Does it?
6 is a bigger number than 5, and anything higher than 5 automatically rounds up to the next.
Wow.
That's some...
Okay, so I can just say it's technically it's closer to 25 gold than it is to 10 gold, right?
No. You see, you're doing this backwards.
I am?
Yes, because this is 17k gold right now.
FleuryQ's doing it backwards, as in running away with a Fear No Evil beat and Aegis used there by FleuryQ. I know it cost adapting his ult, but that's a big win for NRG because now FleuryQ's going to play so far back in the next team fight. Not
to mention that Adapting's ultimate is going to be up before FleuryQ's actives are. So for FleuryQ to be pressured out so heavily by Adapting, that is standard King of the Jungle kind of gameplay coming out of Adapting right now. And I can assure you, if he's going to be engaging anybody in that next fight, FleuryQ is probably going to be the first one to take a spill, because getting into the backline as a Batz is exactly what he's intending on, especially with the Magi's being online.
Here we go. I'm looking at Frezzyy with a blink if he can find it. FrostiaK will have to get to Yammyn at the backline, and there's Frezzy's blink in the ultimate, but no real focus on top of it. Only iRaffer gets really hit by that ultimate coming out from ShadowNightmare. However, the final judgment hits Shadow in the face, and the crushing walls from Raffer will claim his life. The Phoenix down to 50%. FrostiaK round the back has popped the ultimate early, looks to ingress onto Yammyn, but Yammyn just baits him in with the Aegis, and they pick up another kill. 2 members of Liongard down, and 1 Phoenix as well.
And man, the damage that came through on iRaffer with the clap down onto ShadowNightmare, that is just absolutely devastating. Not really the way you expect to go, and Ducky not really expecting to take a spill there himself, just completely deleted.
2 Phoenixes down, the final one being assaulted. Only Frezzyy and FleuryQ left alive. We mentioned FleuryQ does not have beads or Aegis, had to sit very far back in the fight. He survived, but his Phoenixes and teammates have not. NRG will take game 1 against Liongard this week. They need these points as well, Taco. They're only a point ahead of Liongard right now. This will guarantee them they'll stay a point ahead even if Liongard get game 2.
NRG didn't have the best start to the season, but I mean, that's not necessarily anything wrong with NRG, so to say. They're a team who feel very confident and comfortable in everything that they do, and it's certainly coming to light here today That was a very clean game 1 coming out of them.
It was a clean game 1, but we'll see if NRG can do the same in game 2, because a lot of the time we've been watching NRG just lately, they kind of let the foot off the gas a little bit too much just lately. They don't seem, the focus doesn't seem to be there, or is it more the EU players have stepped up more now? Is the gap really closed on them?
I think the gap is closing quite a bit. I mean, you have a lot of competition coming out from Europe at the moment between Valence and Dignitas. Even Elevate are a team that's recently been sneaking in to the top forefront. And I mean, as far as NRG is concerned, when you've been a team that's been #1 and uncontested for so long, and then teams finally start catching up to you, it can be a little bit difficult to compensate for. But NRG are a team that are excellent at adapting, and I think if they just play their game...
Excellent adapting.
That one was unintentional, but I think if they just play their game and just focus on the drafting phase most importantly, because that tends to be the point where they fall off a little bit in the second games, is their draft goes a little bit more loose-handed.
Let's go into